Russia keeps pushing forward. As Putin tries to support a struggling invasion of Ukraine, he orders drones to be launched. Not all of these drones are aimed at Ukraine. Many have ended up in NATO airspace. And that's only a small part of Russia's broader hybrid war strategy. Now, Eastern Europe has had enough. Putin has crossed a line that can't be forgiven, and preparations are starting for a confrontation. Alliances are forming, plans are being made, and the message being sent to Putin is simple: leave Europe or face destruction. The country sending that message the strongest right now might surprise you: Bulgaria. On March 7th, news broke that another Russian drone had entered European airspace. This time, the target was Sofia. Bulgaria's capital had to temporarily shut down Vasilevsky Airport after security systems detected a drone near the area. Bulgarian authorities reacted quickly as air traffic control and border police worked together to redirect flights and keep everyone at the airport safe. The incident didn't last long. The drone was quickly neutralized. And although Bulgaria was cautious about saying where it thought the drone came from, with some suggesting an Iranian drone could have reached its territory, there is really only one likely source. Russia appears to be responsible again, and Bulgaria is not ignoring this latest incident. It understands that what happened in early March is just a small part of a much larger hybrid war strategy that has been going on longer than many in Europe want to admit. The truth is that Russia is already at war with Europe, just not in a traditional way. Bulgaria is the latest target, and we'll look deeper into Russia's hybrid strategy shortly. Before that, there's Bulgaria's response. The country has done much more than just close an airport for a few hours. After the drone incident, Bulgaria has been actively building alliances and strengthening its defenses. Still concerned about possible involvement from Iran, the country has announced closer cooperation with Greece, a NATO ally, and another Eastern frontline nation that understands how dangerous hybrid warfare can be. Greece will now deploy F-16 fighter jets and a Patriot air defense system on its own territory to help protect the airspace of its northern neighbor, following a direct request from Sofia. Bulgaria has also confirmed its support for the Pearl Initiative, through which EU and NATO countries can buy weapons from the United States for Ukraine to defend itself against Russia. What we're seeing is a country pushed into action, and this is where its response becomes more serious. Beyond supporting Pearl, Bulgaria has also sent a clear message to Putin. His hybrid warfare tactics do not scare the country and have instead triggered the exact opposite reaction of what he wanted. Instead of panicking or stepping back, Bulgaria has signed a 10-year defense agreement with Ukraine. Announced on March 30th, the deal will have Bulgaria, which Le Monde describes as a major arms producer, work with Ukraine on making drones and other types of weapons. It allows for joint production in both Bulgarian and Ukrainian territory, as announced by Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky, and the long duration of the deal is meant to help both countries fully organize their cooperation. That may be true, but a deal lasting a decade also sends a message to Putin that Bulgaria believes Ukraine will stay an independent country for the long term. For that to happen, Russia must lose in Ukraine. Putin is now watching as a former Soviet Union member responds to his hybrid strategy by strengthening ties with the very country he wants Bulgaria to avoid. Partnerships between defense companies will be created. Cooperation between Bulgaria and Ukraine will happen at the government level. Russia and its allies thought sending a drone into Sofia would divide and intimidate. Instead, Putin has only helped create a stronger new alliance against Russia. Right now, Europe needs alliances like this. NATO needs them too. A drone over Sofia is just one example of Russia being in conflict with Europe. The Center for European Policy Analysis, or CEPA, said in a March 31st report that what we're seeing across Europe is a shadow war with no clear end. Europe, it says, is no longer just watching the war in Ukraine and Russia's aggression. It has become a target of a planned shadow campaign where Russia is trying to weaken Europe's structure and create chaos within countries it sees as threats to Putin's goal of building a new version of the Russian Empire. Missiles aren't flying, and Russian troops aren't invading the rest of Europe like they are in Ukraine. Instead, sabotage, surveillance, cyber attacks, and airspace violations are the tools of this shadow war. It is a fight Russia has been carrying out since at least 2022, and one Europe needs to fully recognize. The steady increase of this shadow war turns Russia's actions from isolated events into a clear strategy. Russia is taking advantage of Europe's usual deterrence methods, which Sepa says assume that an opponent will consider risks and change behavior based on possible punishment. Russia doesn't work that way. Russian intelligence and security services are rewarded for initiative rather than restraint. Operations don't need to achieve clear strategic goals to be accepted. They only need to show action, Separ explains. This is a problem for Europe. Russia's system encourages escalation, while Europe's deterrence doesn't punish that escalation strongly enough to stop it. This mismatch has created a one-sided, non-traditional war where Europe is currently losing. Bulgaria understands this. It has just seen Russia's strategy in Sofia and is responding by strengthening its air defenses and signing agreements with Ukraine that will help reinforce Europe's traditional defense against Putin's aggression. For Russia, its shadow war can be broken into four main types of attacks, all of which have increased since the invasion of Ukraine. These categories are simple: proxies and infiltration, undersea and energy attacks, airspace violations, and cyber operations. Together, they form the core of Russia's shadow war, and a drone incident in Bulgaria is only a small, visible part of a much larger problem Europe must deal with. Starting with proxies and infiltration, Russia has built a wide network of proxy groups and criminal organizations operating inside European countries. Arson, sabotage, intimidation, and surveillance are the main tools used by these groups, and they have been very effective. By relying on third parties, Russia can deny involvement in incidents that still serve its goals, making Europe's deterrence approach ineffective. How do you stop an enemy that doesn't follow normal rules? There are countless examples of this approach. Chatham House reports cases in the UK of people allegedly working for Russian intelligence. Germany has arrested individuals suspected of planning attacks for Russia. Several railway derailments in Sweden showed signs of Russian involvement. In Estonia, an important part of NATO's eastern defense line, security services report strong efforts by Russian actors to recruit local citizens, likely to build groups capable of attacking the government. This is Russia trying to weaken Europe from within. The actions of proxies, infiltrators, and collaborators are meant to create division and confusion in targeted countries, and it often succeeds. Right now, there is a pro-Russian group inside Bulgaria criticizing the recent agreement with Ukraine. Pro-Kremlin parties in the country may use this issue in upcoming parliamentary elections on April 19th. Putin's strategy is clear here, and this kind of division explains why Russian sabotage operations in Europe increased fourfold in 2024. Moving to the second part of the strategy, Russia has also focused on important undersea infrastructure that Europe depends on. This includes cables and energy systems. These targets are vulnerable because they are essential for both civilian life and military operations. Instead of direct attacks like in Ukraine, Russia is using more hidden methods, exploiting gaps in Europe's sea defenses to disrupt communication and create confusion within military systems. Ships, sometimes linked to Russia and sometimes appearing to be normal civilian vessels, have been seen near major undersea cable networks. By April 7th, 2025, there had been at least 2 cases of undersea sabotage in the previous 18 months in the Gulf of Finland alone. NATO's eastern region was again targeted. The Baltic Sea has seen even more activity, with 6 suspected sabotage incidents between 2022 and April 2025, and 11 undersea cables damaged or cut since 2023, according to Politico. As with proxy actions, these operations are carried out in a way that allows Russia to deny responsibility. Everyone, especially in Eastern Europe, suspects who is behind these acts. But without clear proof, and with Russia carefully avoiding crossing into open war, direct retaliation is difficult. Russia is exploiting weak points in Europe's communication and energy systems. It is also testing limits in the air. The drone that entered Sofia's airspace is just one example of what appear to be Russian assets entering NATO airspace to create disruption. These actions often seem timed to provoke NATO, likely because Putin believes there will be no immediate response against Russian territory. For example, Operation Eastern Sentry was announced on September 12, 2025, after a Russian drone entered Poland. Less than 24 hours later, another drone entered Romanian airspace. Within a week, three Russian MiG-31 fighter jets entered Estonian airspace and stayed for 12 minutes, ignoring all communication until NATO jets were sent to escort them away. Since then, there have been many similar cases, including Belarusian weather balloons over Lithuania and Russian drones near U.S. bases in Estonia. In 2025 alone, Russian air assets entered NATO airspace 18 times, 3 times more than in 2024, according to the conversation. This latest drone in Bulgaria suggests that this part of Russia's strategy will continue. And from Putin's perspective, it is working. Finally, there are cyber operations. Russian cyber attacks have become more advanced. While they once targeted general IT systems, they now focus more on operational systems like energy grids and transport networks. Disinformation is also a key tool. By using bots and fake accounts on social media, Russia can influence public opinion and even elections in other countries. At the same time, Russia limits internet freedom at home while using open systems abroad to spread its message. King's College London highlights how widespread these efforts are, reporting 505 cases of foreign information manipulation between November 2023 and November 2024. These involved 25 platforms, targeted 90 countries, included 322 organizations, used 38,000 channels, and produced 68,000 pieces of content. Countries like Ukraine, Germany, France, and Moldova were heavily targeted. These operations show that Russia's cyber war is not just about disabling systems, but also about shaping opinions and creating division. Through these campaigns, Russia can directly harm countries and increase political polarization, similar to what is seen in places like the US and the UK. Europe is trying to respond. In December 2025, the European Council imposed sanctions on 2 entities and 12 individuals linked to cyber attacks and information manipulation. These are important steps, but they are far from enough to stop Russia's activities. This is the main challenge Europe faces. While Russia continues its shadow war, many in Europe either don't fully understand the threat or treat it incorrectly. In many countries, acts like sabotage and cybercrime are handled as normal criminal issues. Damage to cables is often seen as accidents at sea. Putin knows this, which is why Russia can continue these actions with little consequence. They are not treated as repeated acts of war, but as isolated crimes, allowing Russia to deny responsibility and avoid serious punishment. Even in military terms, it can be argued that the EU and NATO have not done enough. Euromaidan Press reports that Bruno Kohl, former head of Germany's intelligence service, believes Russia could attack a NATO country before the end of the 2020s. Others, like German military chief Carsten Brewer, have made similar warnings. Europe is being repeatedly told that its current approach is not working. Yet it is still not fully prepared for this shadow war to turn into a real one. According to Euromaidan Press, Europe may not be ready until 2035, several years after many NATO leaders warned that Russia could attack. However, some parts of Europe are preparing faster, especially in the east. Bulgaria is a clear example. It is seeking help from Greece and Ukraine to deal with the growing Russian threat. According to RFU News, other European countries are doing the same. Ukraine has spent over 4 years defending itself against Russia and has developed strong defense capabilities, including anti-drone systems and electronic warfare tools. Bulgaria will benefit from these technologies. So will Denmark, Finland, and Latvia, which have also partnered with Ukraine through the Build for Ukraine initiative. We are now seeing Ukraine's experience being integrated into Eastern Europe. This could be an effective response to Russia's shadow war. Instead of creating division, Russia's actions are starting to bring unity, especially in Eastern and Northern Europe. Preparations for possible conflict are already increasing in these regions. Bulgaria is just beginning to respond seriously to the threat. In Latvia, a NATO battle group led by Germany is being formed and is expected to be ready by 2027. Poland has become one of the strongest military powers in Europe, spending 4.5% of its GDP on defense in 2025, the highest among NATO members, with more than half of that budget going to weapons. The Baltic states, Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia, are also heavily investing in border defenses along with Poland. What we see here are early signs of preparation in Eastern Europe. While some countries hesitate and remain unsure how to respond, others like Bulgaria, Poland, and the Baltic states are actively getting ready for what they believe could happen. Greece can be included in this group as well, given its growing cooperation with Bulgaria. Cooperation between these countries and Ukraine is at a high level. Defenses are being strengthened, and warnings about the shadow war are being taken seriously. Eastern Europe is aligning more closely with Ukraine and sending a clear message to Putin. His shadow war is not scaring them. They are preparing for a potential conflict and, together with Ukraine, are ready to defeat Russia's ambitions. Of course, all of this depends on whether Russia will even have the military strength to turn its shadow war into a full-scale one. That is not certain, as large numbers of Russian soldiers are being lost in Ukraine. Russian forces are facing heavy losses, which could weaken any planned spring offensive that aimed to defeat a country still resisting strongly. You can learn more about Russia's major military setbacks in our video. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe.